this episode of Judging Amy. Yeah, we've insulted those guys so much that they're... Anyway, Judging Amy, it's an episode that I'll be directing. I prep in December and shoot in January, which I'm very excited by that, because that'll be my first non-Star Trek directing gig in terms of television. And then there are a couple plays that I'm going to be directing. I mean, I'm still looking for acting work. I really am.
I have to tell you that Nana is going to play Bodicea, that queen.
That's right, yeah.
That'll be one of the cool things about it. So, Xena, watch your back.
Xena,
this baby's
absolutely.
coming out of the chariot wheels right at
you. I mean, that's why you got to read this play. I'm sure.
I will.
I mean, it's a great period of history, because at that time you had three cultures, you know. And you have the Anglo-Saxons and the Romans who were newly arrived, and then you had the Celts who were living there.
Yeah.
And it was really a very volatile situation. It's great stuff. It's one of my favorite periods, actually. Anyway, yeah. So, right. So, anybody got an acting job for me, just, see me after, and I could use it. Anyway, back there, sir.
There's a bat we have to ask after you.
Two questions for Alexander.
Hit me.
Number one, why did he go from his Arab name to his British name?
Right.
And number two, when he's around other Brits, does he revert to a full British accent, or does he keep his quasi-American?
Good question. I'm very rarely aware of the fact that I have a quasi-American accent. But it's very possible I do. A Mid-Atlantic thing. And yes, I do revert to my British accent when I'm with other Brits, if that's the case. Because they don't notice that. And I probably revert to a British accent when I'm at home. I think it's something about being understood, being desperately wanting to be understood, so I maybe adopt this quasi thing. And also after 6 years or 7 years on Star Trek, when everything I said, if it was an English pronunciation of a word that is different in American, it would be changed by the production office to the American pronunciation, so that I couldn't actually say it in an English way. I'm trying to remember what words, what is that thing when you, with a syringe, you put it, an antidote? No. There's something around those lines which I think there's
Intravenous?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of words out there. There's other words too. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but the American pronunciation is different than the British pronunciation.
Inoculation?
Who? That was just like everything coming at the same time.
Inoculation?
Inoculation. Yeah, no, that's the same.
That too.
No, there are other stuff. So, but as far as my name is concerned, I think Huntington, West Virginia is the last town that doesn't know about how I changed my name.
Oh, you got to tell them.
We've covered all the rest, haven't we?
You got to tell them, and you got to tell them what you wanted to do, and they went crazy.
It's a weird thing. There are many reasons why, and they've exponentially expanded over the years as I've begun to make up new reasons.
We have a T-shirt coming out.
Yeah, with just all the different names, like one of those adverts. It initially started in London in a restaurant on Fulham Road, and I went out with a couple of mates, and we had a few bottles of wine and something to eat. And the last thing that came up was like, now, this bunch of people know who you are, change your name. And I went, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And so I did. I mean, that was how it started. It was like, and then I was going to change my name every year. Every single year I was on the show, I was going to change it again. I immediately didn't have the courage to do that. The thing was that when I was born, my mother wanted me to be called, my mother's English. My father is Sudanese, if anybody knows. Sudan is in Africa, just south of Egypt. And so my dad was Sudanese and she was English. She was living in Sudan. I was born, she said, I'm going to call him, and everybody else went, Siddig, your father, And she was like, oh, okay. I guess I can't call him what I want to call him. So she didn't have a choice. And in fact, she tells me a story, I was born in a hospital, and there was a revolution going on at the time, which was a slight problem. And there was tear gas in the halls, and on the day that I was born, it was just like the whole place was just immersed in tear gas. And they'd stolen her morphine. She had a bad back problem while I was having surgery, and they replaced the morphine with sugar, which is one of the things they like to do in certain countries when they want to just like steal the medicine, because there was this war. So she was in all kinds of pain and wasn't really ready to fight the argument and actually make sure that I was called what she wanted me to be called. And outside the door were 45 to 60 women, all from my family, big family, 2,000 second cousins. I mean, it's a big family. That's just the Arabic side. There was 5 of us in England.
I've never heard this. The tear gas. I mean, this is...
That's new. It's a new
this
thing
is
I've
far
added.
out. I mean,
Yeah,
is this, you make this up, you add detail each time?
It's true. Now, that's a true thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't know why the big families, but it's got something to do with concubines in the turn of the century.
Well, believe me, they weren't dealing with just one wife at a time. I mean, here, you know.
No, legally, they could have several.
Yeah, sure.
My mother kind of put a stop to that. And then if it didn't work out, she left. So anyway, that happened. And they ululated outside the door, which if you don't know what that is, a lot of people here will show you at some point. Andy, let us see. Let us hear your ululation. So, yeah.
That's like a coon dog. Yeah. Hey, get that coon dog out of here. An ululating coon dog.
Yeah. So they were beating lots of really sadly unhappy animals outside the door. No, and these women, so they shouted, Siddig, 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 so I had to be called Siddig. That was a definite. And El-Fadl was my father's name. And my mother wanted to be called something else, English, John, Robert, whatever, Ben. And so it came full circle when I had an opportunity to change it. I went, okay, I'm going to take Siddig, which I was going to be called anyway, and put the other name in. And that ended up being Alexander. And not just because it's pretty close to the beginning of the book, and I just wasn't going to live through the rest of it. It was like, there's no way, Hey, Alexander. I like the name too. I already named the dog Alexander, so I thought, I'll name myself Alexander too. My dog was named Alexander. So yeah, that's the story about the tear gas.
Yeah.
I mean, there was. I'll tell you a thing, if anyone hasn't been in the revolution here, it's quite an interesting experience. But even if you're a little boy, I was in the front courtyard of my house. We had a compound in Sudan, in Omdurman, on the Nile. And I was sitting on the front steps with a cousin.
Don't know which one.
We had our own newspaper. And I was watching the front door, which was a kind of wooden door, and it was just big wooden, really rustic. This place was made of mud, or at least sand, but it was baked mud. It was a beautiful shape. I mean, square corners, not just like a kind of igloo, but made out of mud. But I mean, a nice-looking mud hut. And the front door, there was a big hole just came, and I was a little kid. I was like, maybe I've seen some kids in here. Where are they thinking? I was about your size, maybe a bit smaller than you. You doing that right there. Yeah, I was about 3 years younger than you, maybe 4. And this hole just went boom in the door. And I was like, my goodness, what's that? I didn't say that. I said it in Arabic. So I was like, I forgot in Arabic. Eternal regret. And it's amazing the things you forget as you get older. The whole language. But I remember this instance, and I was turned to my cousin, and I went, and he said, back at me, and I understood exactly what he was saying.
None of this is true.
No,
you understand that, don't you?
It's true.
Not a word of it.
It's true.
It's great.
It's true. And he said, that is a cannonball. And what had happened was someone had shot a cannon through our front door. And that is true. And then I remember being amongst, this is going on too long, but it's kind of interesting. I remember being in a forest of adults, and I swear to you this is true. It's probably verifiable in some book or newspaper somewhere. It was quite an important family. I just walking from room to room. And I was literally like, why are we all walking from room to room? And what was happening was there were soldiers looking in the other rooms, and we were just walking away from the soldiers looking for us. And all of them were arrested, my father included, and I came to England with a case of mangoes.
The mangoes are true.
The mangoes are true. So what
I dare somebody ask me how long does it take to put your makeup on now? I mean, how do you follow that? How do you follow that?
It just occurred to me.